Hello and welcome to another episode of Obsidian Extra Lives. I'm your host, player sports specialist Chris Stanick, and I'm joined by our special guest today, the boss of my boss, so my mega boss, head of strategy and operations, Marcus Morgan.
Hello. Good afternoon. Happy to be here. It was funny when you started. You kind of gave like a hello and welcome to movie phone
I forgot
type
hail,
of vibe.
dude. Yeah.
So that made me giggle.
Yeah, because I think you put me under all this pressure and stress about all the bad news you just gave me a second ago, and so I usually start with a big heyo, and that kind of is like my opener. I'm also I've made myself way smaller than you. Like
I think your chair just fell down.
I think it did too, and it kind of just threw me off. But so now that we've critiqued my entrance and everything else, and
I wasn't
this is
critiquing it.
This
I
is
just
going
thought,
on my review.
It made me laugh. It was nostalgic. Your entrance was nostalgic.
Ah.
That way.
Welcome to the radio.
Hello and welcome to Obsidian's Extra Lives.
I'll do that next time.
I'm your host, Chris Stanick.
So how are you today?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm super happy to be here. I'm glad you invited me to do this. So yeah, I'm great. I'm wonderful. Why wouldn't I be?
I don't know. I have no reason to think why you would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I could think of one thing, how Volkanovski won the fight, and you disagree with that, and that would make you feel wonderful.
Yes. Chris and I are both avid MMA fans and disagreed on scoring criteria for fighting. But let's not bore everyone right out the gate.
Not out of the gate. We're going to play Aerial Knight's Never Yield today.
That's right.
What made you want to play this game today?
Well, surprise, it's Black History Month.
Indeed it is.
So, anytime I get opportunities to like highlight or spotlight things in gaming, me being black in the industry, I always want to try to do that. So this is an indie game made by, I think a gentleman named Neil Jones. That came out a little bit ago, but I'd heard it and got a recommendation to play it. So when you asked me if I wanted to play something, I was like, meh. Let's do that. Let's see. Even if I can get an extra 2 people to be interested in this game, that's pretty awesome. So that's why I'm picking it. Also seemed relatively straightforward, where I could play it while talking.
You think that, but
so I picked that one too, just to try to not look totally horrible in playing a game.
I think our testing has said otherwise, but we'll see how it goes in the real situation.
I
mean, I've not asked you any questions yet. You've just been
zero concerns on playing the game, and even if not, also it's got good music in the background.
It does have good music.
I can hear it.
So you ready to jump into it? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, but without going into all of your job stuff? Just like about you and like what got you into games and some fun things about you.
Okay. Yeah. So originally, I am from Denver, Colorado. That's where I originally from. But I actually have moved around a lot throughout the course of my life. So I've lived all over the country, mainly moving for job stuff. So I started in Denver, but went to my undergrad in Massachusetts. And then I lived in Kentucky for a while. I lived in Chicago for a while. And then I lived in San Francisco for a while. And then I lived in LA for a while. And then New Hampshire for a while.
Wow, you bounce around more than I do.
Irvine, and I looked away and died when I started talking to you.
Hey-oh, yep.
So moved to a lot of different places and gotten to see a lot of different places. But in terms of what started me with gaming, I played games, gosh darn it, from the moment I was a little kid. I think my first ever console was the NES, I want to say, and a lot of my gaming experience came from like I was always like a console behind what the modern one was, because I had like that whole like trade in. I got to trade in the old console to get the new one, so like collect all my games and do that. And then the big thing that I would say, like anytime I ever tell a story, there's 2 gaming moments in my life that I knew I was like, I want to do something in gaming.
Okay.
Moment number 1 was what made me love like stories in games in particular was, man, looking away and trying to talk to you.
I told you it's not.
I'm playing with one hand.
I know, because it's all directional. Did you notice that the colors of the object correspond with the direction that you should push?
It's also killing me from behind.
Well, that I can't help you with.
Well, I didn't even understand how I avoided that one. So
your moment in gaming
story. There's 2 main moments in gaming that. How am I dying?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's keep an eye on it for a second. Maybe duck when he, or forward. He's blue. Forward. forward. Yeah, so they're
I need to
color-coded.
outrun it.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
color-coded,
okay.
the obstacles.
I don't even need to do blue. Okay, cool.
See?
Thank you.
I know
Thanks,
things.
Coach. Thanks, Coach. So one of those things was I played a ton of Counter-Strike as a kid. I played a lot of Counter-Strike 1.6.
Okay.
And my buddies and I it was just always a really great time to be able to get together with my friends and like LAN, go to like PC houses and just spend the day playing CS. And I played like in Cal League and competitive Counter-Strike, and I had dreams.
You played in Cal?
Yeah, of course. Made it to Cal M. I had dreams of being a competitive like Counter-Strike player one day in my life, which were further away than I probably thought they were when I was actually playing. Oh, see, I died again. So that was the one piece, and that was always really fun. I always liked to do that. The second big piece was for story-driven games. That's where I started before I died 5 times. And that one really came from playing Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
Like that Metal Gear Solid on PS1
Yep.
to be more like precise, not like the SNES version. That was
Well,
what
those are Metal Gear.
Correct. That's why I'm
Yeah,
being
yeah.
super
Okay.
clear, just in case people aren't aware of
Gotcha.
the differences of them. Man, that was the first time I actually felt like emotion in a story,
Okay.
and I always thought that was really cool. And I always was like, man, this is what games can do. Like they can bring that like level of interactive to storytelling that I just always thought was cool. And so from then on, I was super hooked. It's also one of the reasons like I love getting to work at Obsidian, because we tell our story driven games.
Mm-hmm.
So those were kind of the things that got me into games, and yeah, I've been hooked my whole life ever since. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I love JRPGs. That's the other category I'll always tell people when I play.
Have you played Persona or Shin Megami Tensei? Right?
I played Persona 4 Golden on my Vita.
Okay.
That was my first introduction to the Persona series. I've never really gotten into the Persona series outside of that one, which I really, really enjoyed my experience doing it, or playing Persona. But I have never gotten really into Persona outside of that. But I did like that.
I've heard it's really good. It's one of the JRPG franchises I haven't played, so I was curious.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to touch on Kentucky. Did you go to the first Kentucky Fried Chicken in Kentucky?
I did not. But you want to know a fun fact about Kentucky? Well, and Cincinnati, because I was right on the border. I lived in Covington, Kentucky, which is right across the street from Cincinnati.
Okay.
It has the second largest Oktoberfest outside of Germany.
Really?
Yeah. There's a very large German population in Cincinnati in particular.
I want to go to that because I don't think I'm going to go to Germany anytime soon. Why? And, well, I mean, like, I don't know. Germany's far away. It's expensive. I got a kid.
Fair enough.
It is very impressive, Sweet Trap, that he's able to play this game and talk. Man, there was Kentucky and that. Oh, so the Metal Gear thing.
Has he said that? I felt no pressure.
That's how it always goes, though,
when
right?
He said that.
Oh man, I forgot now.
Yes, Kentucky. So you brought up.
Oh, the first KFC. Yeah.
KFC, yeah. No, I did not.
Oh, I feel like that's the one thing you have to
early?
do, like when you're in Kentucky.
I don't. Is that where it is?
I have no idea where it is. I've been, but I don't remember.
So you want me to tell you another fun thing that I did while I lived in Kentucky?
Sure.
That most people would choose not to do, including my parents told me not to. So it was the first job that I had out of school. I worked in accounting in Cincinnati at a company called the Nielsen Company, who do like
That's
the TV
the ratings, right?
and stuff like that. And one of my dreams when I was in school, because the Real World was super popular then, was I always wanted to be on the Real World.
Okay.
And so I don't know how I got put on some mailing list for it, but there was a casting call for a Real World that was happening that, like, you know, they were casting for it, and they were doing it at like a bar near the University of Kentucky. So I drove like an hour and a half or so to this bar, and I applied to be on the Real World. So it was a really fun like experience where.
Did they do like chat with you too?
So you went to this bar and you like got handed, like, they were like, okay, you know, go sit down at this table. You sat down with like 10 other people, and there was some producer type person there, and they were like, they just started going around the table asking questions, seeing the dynamics between people, and then at the end they were like, okay, I want you and you to stay. And so like I was one of the people they asked to stay.
Oh, so you made the first cut.
So I made the first cut, and I so then afterward you go and they like give you a stack of paperwork like this big, and they go, go fill this out. And so I thought it would be fun because I was at a bar and I had to fill out all this paperwork. That was like going to take me a while to like go and pretend like I worked for MTV. And because I was one of the first people to interview, I guess I was like the first like 50 people in there. And there was hundreds of people who came through this bar that day. I pretended like I worked for MTV and started interviewing people as they came in. while I was drinking and filling out this my application. And people were taking me 100% seriously. Like they were like answering all my questions, and the people there loved it. And so much so that I made it to the final. Oh man, I'm really falling apart now. I made it to the final like round where they call you into like, it was weird. It was like a hotel lobby or something like that. Oh goodness, a hotel lobby, and you like on camera do like a 2-hour interview. And so after that, I got the background check forms, and I'm really falling apart. I got the background check forms, and I had to film like one of those. You know how in the first things, like the confessionals, you explain who you are, like where you're from. So I had to film one of those, myself too. Unfortunately, I got cut there. That's where I got cut. Never heard back. And what I remember most vividly about it was my mom. When I called her and I was like, I think I'm gonna make it. My mom had a lot of confidence that I was gonna make this. She was like, what did you tell them? And please don't do this show. Because you have to expose a lot about your life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're trying to create, why are you interesting or whatever. So that was probably the most like me doing an accounting job wasn't the most fun thing I did at Kentucky. No offense to accounting or anything like that.
To Nielsen, yeah, of course not.
But doing that whole experience was really fun for me.
That's pretty cool.
It's really fun.
You kind of talked about being at Nielsen and stuff, but before that, you went to school to do your BA in business and accounting, right?
I was an accounting major, and I actually was an Asian studies Chinese minor.
Okay.
In school.
What made you want to go into business? Because it's not something I feel like kids grow up like, I want to be an astronaut or a paleontologist, or I want to be a business guy. So. Well, it's definitely not a gaming thing. The Cal thing was definitely not happening.
What did you say?
I said the Cal thing was definitely not happening. The professional Counter-Strike.
How am I?
Are you timing it? Like
I think so. I think I'm doing this right.
All right, you got this.
I don't know. Let me get past this part really quickly.
All right.
But what made me go into it?
Yeah. What interested you about? You're like, I want to go to school for business.
So to be honest, the school that I went to. Oh my goodness, the school that I went to was. I just need to quit sprinting. Was a liberal arts school, and liberal arts schools typically they have the only business type of degree they have is like economics, which is you can take it over for a second, which is like which is more broad. Like liberal arts schools don't like to do as much specialties. So like when you go to like more of a state school, you can go and like major in like business or finance, and that's not as much with liberal arts schools. When I was going to school, like. To be honest with you, like I was the first person in my family to go to college, so I didn't really have a lot of experience around like what you're supposed to do with majors and stuff like that. So a lot of that kind of advice came from just I also played football in college, and so it came from like the teammates that I had around me, and they just kind of were like, oh, go into like finance or banking or something like that. So I chose to do accounting after like doing some research on like, well, what's a good major to have that's good for business.
Yeah,
I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do business. What's a good major? And accounting was just one of them. And then I had a couple of professors who just advised it, and it was something that I knew that I could make decent money in too. And
so it was like a stability and like.
And just what other people were doing, right? Like that's really where I got that direction. And then from there, I was always when I was in high school, I was always really good at math. Like math was always kind of my strength. And honestly, it was somewhat just influence of your surroundings. And then as I started to get more and more into it, I started to realize that I did enjoy. I enjoyed doing business stuff, and I started to be able to focus in more. Like I'll be honest with you, I had an inclination that I didn't love accounting specifically. Okay. But I did like business like more broadly, and I was like, but I don't know what I like about it. And then that's something that you just learn over it, like while going to school and while you have jobs. And I started thinking about my career, and I actually have done a lot of different jobs in business that was like, well, what don't I like? Like I know I like this general field, but what don't I like? And like I was like, okay, accounting not the greatest. I'm gonna check that off. And then I did kind of more finance stuff, and I was like, I don't love that as much either. Like, let me check that box off. And then I did like more marketing stuff or more sales stuff. And I just kind of learned more and more what I like to do over time. And so I try to tell that to people all the time of, you know, the major you pick, yes, it can have influence on, you know, the job that you get to do ultimately. But I think the biggest thing you can get out of going to school, especially if you're deciding to go to college, is just learning how to learn.
That's literally what I say. I feel like college taught you how to think and like learn, like you know, open your mind to things like that.
And don't put so much pressure on the major that you choose. Like, and put more pressure on like, am I being able to decipher information? So that's my I don't even think about. I mean, I do use my accounting major from time to time, but it's certainly not the thing. It wouldn't be something I would like over. Pick something that you enjoy. Pick something that you can do well in. Pick something that you're excited about. That's kind of how I think about it. And you'll figure the rest of stuff out. You learn how to do a job by doing the job.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a thing where people are like, oh, well, I've done all the credentials in the job, but I don't have the experience. And I feel like a lot of people are like that, but a lot of people are just figuring it out as they go. Like kind of like faking it till you make it sort of thing.
Totally. I still do that every day at work here today. I'm just faking it constantly. Like I'm pretending to play this game. Look, I'm not even using hands.
Fergus, you're not watching this, are you? Eric was like, I went to school for art, now I'm in communications. Yeah, same thing here. I went to school for art as well and did a bunch of different things, and all those certain skills apply and stuff like that, but I'm way happier doing this than I was graphic design.
Totally.
Oh, so you were at Nielsen, and then get my little slides in here.
I totally.
Then
that one throws me off. I don't understand my timing on that.
And then you were next at EA. Was that after you were done with your BA and Nielsen and things? Were you looking at game jobs, or there was just an opportunity that kind of fit what you were doing, and you're like, you know, I wanted to work in games, and I have a love for games?
So I'll back up and tell you another story that started in business school, which changed my perspective of like what jobs I was going to do and why.
Okay.
Because I think it's always been good context for my life. Why did I just do that? So when I was in college, I played football there. And my junior year in college, I had a really bad heat stroke that almost that put me in the hospital for like 2 days, and it almost killed me legitimately.
Jeez.
And going through that experience, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start choosing to do things that I just want to do in life.
Yeah.
Like don't hold back, and if I decide I want to do something, I'm just gonna go try to do it, because life's too short.
You got some perspective.
You have an experience like that, you do have a little bit different perspective. And so what happened while I was at Nielsen was I was really enjoying it. It was actually a phenomenal experience. I made a lot of really great friends, and I was doing well at the job, but I just wanted to work on something that I liked. Like I just wasn't passionate about market research or market or consumer data, and I love games. And I was reading. One day I was literally listening to like an IGN podcast. I was reading like a Wall Street Journal article on like Activision Blizzard or something like that, and I just like sat at my desk in Chicago, and I was like, you know what? I want to work in video games. Like, how could I do this? Like, I just want to figure out what's the way I could do this. And that never dawned on me before when I was in school. Because I was in business, I was like, well, I'm not a dev.
Yeah.
So how do I actually work in games? Like, I didn't know that there were jobs like mine.
Yeah. There's a whole business behind the making of the game, right? Because there's something that runs the business.
Totally. So I started looking at jobs, and I ended up finding a job at EA that was a finance rotation program, and I was in a finance rotation program already at Nielsen. So I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll take me because I'm already in one of these, and it was the first year they actually ended up doing it. And so I applied blindly. Like, I just put my application in, which it's really it's very rare, and I feel really lucky that I got a shot, just to interview, and that's all I wanted. I was like, if I can just interview, I know I can do the rest of the stuff.
I mean, it's like the real world thing, right? Like, you got there and you know. Yeah,
which probably almost got cut at the very end, but maybe I made it through.
Yeah, but I mean, you went for it though.
Totally. So that was the catalyst was after listening to it, I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna try to apply. And so I applied, and then a couple months I still remember this. Had a roommate. And I was laying on the couch. We were like watching I think we were watching Game of Thrones. And I was like, oh my god, and like I froze. She was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I got an interview. I got an interview at EA, and like it was so cool. And I remember that moment. It was so cool. And I went, took the interview, and busted my butt to make sure like I was like, no one's gonna know more about the business of or like the finances of games, because it was a finance thing, than I am. I'm gonna read through the 10K, which is the financial report for that like public companies like publish, and I'm gonna try my best. And so that's how it happened. But I'm gonna keep ranting.
Oh yeah, keep going.
So then I go for the interview, and I'm obviously super nervous. And when I get out there, so I fly across, from Chicago to EA, and obviously I'm like starstruck to even be on EA's campus. They have like, soccer fields and basketball courts and these cool, like, Dante's Inferno statues like up there, and like all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we get there, and like I'm in my suit, and we walk by this gym, and this one guy is there, and he like looks way more casual about his interview, and he's like not wearing a tie, which like for finance people, like in video games, I found out now, like you'd be embarrassed to almost wear a suit. Like I would never wear a suit in video game interview, no matter if I'm in business, to be honest with you.
Even at the business level?
No, there are some studios that are like that, but this maybe now I've moved past the wearing a suit thing.
Okay, Sam wore a suit to his interview.
But I don't know, I need to punch through the door.
Okay, sorry. You want to switch again?
Yeah, let's switch again while I tell the story. And this guy's like super casual about it, and then goes over and just like grabs a basketball and like goes and dunks it. And I was like, who is this guy? And is he interviewing for this job? And like, long story long, I find out he was like Peter Moore's godson.
Okay.
Who Peter Moore at the time was like I think he was the chief operating officer, and he had worked at Xbox. You've probably seen him in like, they did a spoof of Peter Moore in South Park one time when they worked with like I think it was Xbox or EA to like make a game. And so I was like, well, I'm not getting this job. Like, this is who I'm interviewing against. Like, it's guaranteed I'm not getting this job. Like, I'm almost certain that I'm gonna fail at this.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, I think that I'll be honest. Like, sure, I think I did a good job at the interview, but I also think that he decided to go play basketball somewhere, like in Europe, instead of taking this job, and in the rotation program. And so I honestly do feel like there's always some element of like opportunity meets preparedness meets a little bit of luck.
Yeah, totally.
That got me in here, and once I got it, I just have never looked back of like not working in games. Like I was like, yep, this is what I love. This is what I love to do, and I'm gonna figure out every way that I could do what I'm good at, which was like the business and finance thing, to contribute to the industry that I like to be a part of. So. Yeah, that's my even longer-winded story.
No, it's interesting.
Into gaming.
And then after that, you were over at Blizzard.
I jumped over that. I moved to Activision Blizzard. So
Activision Blizzard, that's
the
right.
Central kind
Yes.
of part of those.
On
the digital sales team.
On a digital and
mobile sales. So basically, what our jobs were at the time, physical games. You're gonna play this because this is gonna be hard for me to focus.
Cool.
Everyone used to buy their games at retail stores,
yes.
right? They used to just buy, you stayed up late at night waiting for GameStop to open, and then went and got your copy of whatever your favorite game was.
I kind of miss that.
I do too. I miss it. What was the last game you remember going
midnight
to?
Release?
A midnight release. Right?
It was Dark Souls.
It was Dark Souls?
Yeah.
Wait, the remake?
The first one.
Oh, the first
the original.
One. Okay. Mine was Skyrim.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that was the last one that I did. So basically the purpose of this team was, obviously things were starting to shift to like people downloading games directly from, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, all those things were growing more and more, and our role and responsibilities were like, how do we adapt our business to fit that new model?
Okay.
And then that's also was the emergence of some of the things that, like, candidly I don't love, like MTX and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Too. Like, but that was lighter. It was more of just like, how do you treat, Xbox is now like GameStop, and we have to organize ourselves to work with that so we can.
So being like a storefront as well as being somebody who makes games as well. Like, now you're not only making them but selling them on your storefronts digitally because.
Totally. And one of the cool things that I think that I worked on that I was like first involved with was the very first digital collector's edition of a game.
What game was it?
I think it was Call of Duty Ghosts was the one that we did it. And
Okay.
It was like the first like day digital collector's edition. So it was like stuff like that, like how do we bring things that people want, like if you're a super fan and you want all the extra stuff, how do we bring that over? So yeah, that was my job for the first few years, and it brought me closer to like the product teams, and again, slowly but surely I was going to move closer to being like helping to make games. Like that's all I really wanted to do. So yeah, that was what I did for a little bit, and then after that job at Activision, I went and worked on it's called like commercial marketing team or retail marketing team, but basically did like all of the physical store marketing stuff in North America and all of the Americas, actually, like North and South America and Central, for Skylanders.
Okay.
So it was the last Skylanders game that we put out, called Skylanders Imaginators, and then Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy were the two games that I helped launch during that time. So
And Skylanders was huge.
Skylanders was huge.
Skylanders was bananas.
Yeah. Like the thing that was interesting about it was I chose to go there because while retail was changing, like, you know, fewer and fewer games were being sold necessarily at retail, it's still a really important piece, right? Like, people still like, and I just like, I like toys. Like, I wanted to learn that part, right? Like, you know, if I want everyone to do a collector's edition, or everyone to sell something in a store, you know, backpacks or anything like that sort of stuff, like, I should know how this works. And so even though Skylanders wasn't at its height, it certainly was not. It was like at its bottom. There was two things I wanted to learn. One, more retail stuff, like how does retail work? And two, I want to know what it was like to be on something that wasn't just growing. Like being on a digital team at that time, like I could have kicked my feet up and it was going to grow.
Yeah.
Because that's just where
That's
the
where
market
it was trending towards.
But what do you do, like, and how do I respond, and what do I learn for things that are like when it's on the downturn? Like, how does that work with it? So those are the two reasons I went to that team. And again, you can see I moved one step closer from like being downstream from a game to being, like, really close to it.
We're getting closer too,
Yeah.
as we talk about it. All right, you need to take over again. Then during that time, you decided to go back to school?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a decision to make in that I was kind of starting to become more senior in my experience, but I still was too far from the games that I wanted to be. I wanted to be closer to them, and I really wanted to work closer with development studios. The thing that I learned working at like EA and Activision was like, sometimes there could be a disconnect in like the passion or the trust that was established between the publishing side, so like the sales and the marketing and the the business side of things, and the developers. And I loved games as much as I think any dev did, especially when we work at certain places. Like, people have more of a thought of, I'm just going to die constantly, so I hope you all enjoy watching me die. Like, I love games just as much, and I wanted to do what's right, like, by players. I wanted to do what was right by, like, for like what I would want to see being like made and how we did things. And so I wanted to get closer to that. And so I had an option of like, well, I could keep kind of doing this rotation thing with my job, like myself, and keep moving around jobs, and maybe I'll get closer and closer to studios at Activision, or I could go back to school, learn some of the other business things that I still don't know, like in a more accelerated fashion, over 2 years, and also have time to go and see, could I just go work at one of these like mid-tier, smaller studios now and help them grow, help them get to the next stage. And that just, I wanted to go to school full time, so I would just have the time to be able to go through and find those places and talk to them about, oops, I think I just reset the game.
Oh no!
I yielded instead of not yielding.
Well,
it's okay. It'll go right back. Anyway, I really wanted to go work on a smaller studio. I didn't want to work for like a big company anymore as much.
Is it because you didn't feel like with a big company and the experience that you had, you wouldn't have been able to make as much of an impact?
No, I just, what I really valued about being on the digital sales team, and even when I was on the Skylanders team and the Crash Bandicoot group, is we were kind of small. Like, and we did fun, weird things. And I just, sometimes when you're big, you have less flexibility to do kind of that fun, weird stuff. And I'm crying. We're gonna give it back.
Okay.
And I want it to do that, and I want it to, most importantly, like, I don't know, I have kind of maybe like a chip on my shoulder or something that I love, like being an underdog.
Okay.
And I want to help good devs do more, like with what I could help them.
Yeah.
So that was really kind of the impetus for me wanting to go back to business school was that. Like, I just wanted to make that transition, and there's many ways you can do it. I just thought going to business school would be one of them. And then the other truth is, for me, business school was like kind of like a 2-year work hiatus in which I could also travel the world. And like I mentioned earlier, I love to like travel the United States, but when I was younger, I never really got to travel internationally very much.
Okay.
And so when I was talking to some mentors, they were like, "Oh, that's a business school is a great place. You could do that for a couple of years." And so, like, full transparency, that was another, like, one of my number one reasons to go to school was to travel, like to try to go see more of the world. I always think like understanding other people and how they live and their perspective makes you a better person.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So beyond just like the fun of it, I actually think it's just good for expanding your horizons.
I think, yeah, it's similar to that idea of college, right? You're just getting out there and meeting new people and cultures and taking in things and different perspectives that aren't just yours or what you grew up with.
I still won't. Even if
he still won't do it, but I'll eat them. I'll eat them all.
How about if you double the price, I'll quadruple the jelly beans I eat next time I come on the stream.
We can keep track of that.
And we can keep track of it.